Let's have a look at Activity 1 and concentrate on the things that are going to get us marks. So I've just changed the scenario here that I'm going to talk about. You're putting on a particular event which you get by reading your controlled assessment brief. I've just changed that slightly because I'm going to put on an event for the local cheese shops and for cheese connoisseurs. So let's just have a look at the two documents which basically make the whole of Activity 1 work. So the first one is in the development folder, which is going to be the sources table. So I've put the document in there, and one of the things I've done here is I've decided to highlight in yellow the bits that are going to be really important. This is where all the websites that I've found during my work are going to be listed. And one of the things that you'll notice if I move this along is I've highlighted this in yellow, which was a line which says make sure you list all the sources of information plus sources you use to inform your decisions. Include sources of information you found but decided not to use. So they're all going to go in here in this particular table. So that's the very first one that's going to drive Activity 1. And so that means, because I'm putting on an event for cheese owners or cheese connoisseurs, I might have maybe 10 different websites here which are going to link to cheese shops depending on how big I want to make my event and what venue I'm going to put it in. And then if I look at Activity 1, these are the questions that drive what it is I'm trying to find out. So again, I've highlighted in yellow the things to remind myself when I come to make decisions. And it says answer all the questions, they will help you to organise the ideas. And remember that the events should be attractive to adults, young people and children of all ages. So the very first thing here, you've got a different question depending on what event you're organising, but here is what cheese shops did you find in your local area. Now I can't just list all the sources here because in this cell I'm going to list from all of the things that I looked at, what did I decide to go with. So let's have a look at how I'm going to start off by answering just that one question and where I record all my information. So that I know is going to go in my sources table. So maybe I'll get this ready by clicking on edit so I'm ready to type in here. So this is where my first source will go. And now let's just start up Google, and the way I'm going to conduct my search is I am going to type in cheese shops and the first part of a postcode to see what I get. And then I want to get as much information as possible, so there might be things which I don't end up using. So there's an advert here, and here's a map which I could use to find places which might be good to have a stall at the venue that I'm going to hire. So I'm going to go ahead and click on some of these, and let's try this one here. So remember, we can discard this source, but let's try it first of all. So this is called yellowwedge.com, so I'm going to copy the URL. Let's go back into my sources table here. I'm already on edit, and it was called Yellow Wedge, so it's a good job that I remembered that. And then I'm just going to highlight this, find my insert and external link button, paste this, open it in a new window because I'm going to have to come back to this and see whether it's any good. This is a secondary source, so you can either put S or you can type the word secondary, and the description I'm going to come back in a minute to. So at the moment I'm just going to list my sources down here just for possible companies that may be useful to invite to my event. So I'll unpause it once I've got a few more here. So I've carried out some searches. I've put the links under the information source column. I've listed that because these are websites, these are all secondary sources. And then in the description, I've had to say what the actual website is. So this website, for example, if I click on it, it's the actual website of, and it opens in a new tab, it's the actual website of a company called yellowwedge.com. And you can tell that because at the top there's the .com for the company website, and here it takes you straight to the actual page of the company. So let's just have a look at some of the other ones that I've found and what I wrote under the description. So most of them are, let's just close that a minute, most of them are straightforward. Now I'm just showing you all the different links that exist. So this particular one is a website of the company. This website, it just encourages visitors to Richmond and it links to the shops section. So I've said what this particular link is. This one is to an actual company, the Cheese and Wine Company, which you can tell straight from its name that it doesn't just specialise in cheese. And this, if you know French, this is the actual website of this particular company. This one here, the Real Cheese Shop, I got this by looking at the map. And so here it says it's just a link to a map of the shop location, but it gives the address and phone number of the shop in case I did want to use it. So let's just have a look. Remember how we talked about linking maps properly. So here it is. Here's the shop, and it opens it up, and there it gives the address and the phone number in case I need to use this address elsewhere. So once you've got about 10, 12 links or something, you can now make a decision about this last column here, because it's now saying explain the decisions and choices you made. For example, what did you choose? Why did you use it? So this map one here, I could say that this shop is an actual cheese shop. It sells cheeses from different locations. So I have included it in my search results, and I will be using it. Whereas for this particular link, I might have a reason to say, although the website is good, so if I click on the website, it just gives a list of locations for all the shops, and so I've decided not to use this source or make use of anything listed here. So what you're doing now is you're explaining the information and whether you're going to use it or not. So I can now, having looked at all of these different websites and found out whereabouts they are and checked the web pages to make sure they're legitimate, I can now go and answer the very first question now, because I can list the stall holders. So in Activity1, the very first question, which says what cheese shops did you find in your local area, I can now make a list of these here, because those will be the ones that I invite to set up a stall for my event. So that's just looking at the very first question, and then once you've done that properly, remember this is because nobody knows what kind of search you've carried out, so you're using this to explain your actual thinking. So you're using this column here to explain what you thought about the sources that you looked at and what you thought about the information you received, whether it was good for you to use or whether it wasn't that great. And I haven't given you an example here. I might do that in the next video, but you need to have quite a few different organisations listed for your particular controlled assessment brief here, and you need to give a description of the information, whether it actually links to the company or whether it's a link to the map of the company because it's a local place and it doesn't have a website.